So one of the first things that people want to know about whenever they find out that you're in the Marine Corps, or if they're deciding to go into the Marine Corps, is boot camp. In my opinion, it's really not as big of a deal as people make it out to be, since the rest of your Marine Corps experience is going to have a whole lot more stuff in it, and it's probably going to be more difficult, honestly, than boot camp. But I just want to go through and explain everything that happens in boot camp, at least from my perspective of it. Uh, and I'll probably eventually put out a frequently asked questions video too, because there's a lot of little detailed questions that I'm not going to talk about right now. But when you go to boot camp, you either go to San Diego if you're west of the Mississippi, or Parris Island if you're east of the Mississippi River. I went to Parris Island, so some of this may be a little bit different if you go to San Diego, but it's all basically the same. The day you ship out to boot camp, you get in a bus or plane, potentially, depending on how far away you are, and they drive you up there. And as you're crossing the bridge into Parris Island, they tell you to put your head down and not to look out the window. And then, out of nowhere, the doors get ripped open, drill instructors in there and yelling at you. I was actually in the front seat of a minivan when I got dropped off there, so it was a little bit different for me because they were yelling behind me, but that's basically what happens. They take you out of the bus or van and put you on the yellow footprints, which is where it all starts. And you get the speech about what you're about to do and how serious it is. From there, you just do all the receiving stuff at first phase. You get all your gear, they explain to you all the rules, what you'll be doing there, you fill out some paperwork. You'll also do your initial strength test, and to go to boot camp, you already have had to pass it, but for some reason people fail it even when they get there. All it is a 1.5 mile run, as many pull-ups as you can do, and as many crunches as you can do in 2 minutes. If you fail it, you get dropped back to, we called it pork chop platoon. I think they call it body composition platoon or something like that. But basically, if you don't pass the IST, you have to spend however long it takes to get so you can pass it. I didn't have to do it, but I did know people that did have to get dropped back into it, and they said it wasn't a fun time, so please go to boot camp being able to pass the strength test. Honestly, you should be able to pass the full physical fitness test before you go, but at least be able to pass the initial strength test. The rest of first phase, though, once you pass the IST, you go ahead and get your drill instructors and pick up your platoon that you'll be spending the rest of boot camp with, hopefully, unless you get dropped back. But first phase is just learning the Marine Corps way to do everything, learning that they're no longer tennis shoes, they go faster, they're no longer flashlight, it's a moonbeam, all that silliness, and just all the Marine Corps way to do things. Drill, so you'll be marching a lot, learning all the rifle techniques. You'll do the Marine Corps martial arts program, and that to me was fun, except for in boot camp they make it ridiculous, but it's not hard. You have to get your tan belt to graduate boot camp, but once again, it's not hard to get that. You just have to do what they say, and you're going to repeat everything about 300 times, so if you can't do it, then you probably need to keep learning. You do swim week, which I really enjoyed swim week. If you don't know how to swim and you're going to go to boot camp, please learn to swim before you go. You will not have a fun time, and you do have the potential to get dropped back in training, and you don't want to stay at Parris Island or San Diego any longer than you have to. You have to learn a lot of Marine Corps history and other knowledge and just little facts and information about how to do things. You will be tested on that a couple times while you're in boot camp, so you got to pay attention to that, but you're going to repeat everything so many times that you won't be able to ever forget them. Towards the end of first phase, you do the gas chamber, which a lot of people really worry about that. It's honestly nothing to worry about. I had fun with it. You see a bunch of people freak out and they start throwing up and snot's just pouring out of their face. But it's really not that bad. There's no reason to freak out and try to run out. And you're going to have a bad time if you do try to run out, because then the drill instructors will probably make you do it over and over again. But it's really not a bad thing. Some people get it worse than others. I am fortunate to be one of the lucky few who it doesn't really affect that much. I could breathe pretty much normally in there. But it's just a few minutes, and even if it does hit you really hard, it's over in just a couple minutes, and when you get out, the effects go away pretty much right away. So don't worry about that. I believe it's the same day you do the gas chamber, you do the rappel tower. If you're scared of heights, you're not going to have a great time with that, but it'll be okay, and you can't really die or get hurt unless you don't listen at all, so please listen to what they're saying. But other than that, I had fun with the rappel tower too, since heights don't bother me at all. After that, you start second phase, which a big part of second phase is all your shooting stuff. So you go into what's called grass week, where they teach you how to shoot. You get a shooting instructor and a coach that'll teach you all the steps and techniques and what you should and shouldn't do. If you pay attention to that and take their advice, I promise you, you will probably shoot expert every single time you shoot on the range. There are a lot of people who go in with the attitude of, oh, I've shot my whole life and I know what I'm doing, and I actually know of a couple of them who have failed the rifle range because they didn't want to listen to the shooting instructor's advice. So just listen to it, you'll do fine. The next week you spend the whole week on the rifle range shooting, which it's a great week in boot camp since the drill instructors can't really mess with you while you're on the rifle range. They do try to make up for it in the evening, but that's part of life in boot camp. Once you pass the shooting range, you do have to get a certain score at the final day. Once you pass, you move on to what's called team week, and that honestly is the best week of boot camp because you have almost no drill instructor supervision. You go through and do all the things that need to be done around the recruit depot. What I did was I spent most of the time either at the laundry station cleaning all the recruits' laundry, or I spent a couple days actually just helping this civilian wash mattresses in the boot camp barracks that were empty right now. So that was a good week, and from there you go into basic warrior training, which is like Crucible training essentially. It was a fun week in my opinion. You spend the whole week learning to navigate in the woods and just shooting and crawling around under sea wire. It's basically the movie picture of boot camp is that week. You spend it all just outdoors, living in either a tent or a little hut, depending on what section you go into. And it's a lot of fun. You do everything. They shoot the smoke canisters and they're shooting flares at night while you're crawling underneath the sea wire. It's a lot of fun. It is difficult, but it's fun. At the end of that week, you do your Table 2 shoot, which is your combat shooting part of the rifle range, which in the actual Fleet Marine Corps, those are attached together. It's the same week, but in boot camp, they're separated for whatever reason. It's just combat shooting. It's actually fairly easy, and it's a lot of fun, so that's nothing to worry about. You do have to pass with a certain score, but I've met maybe one person in the entire time I was in the Marine Corps that failed it, so you'll be fine on that. After all that, you start your third phase, which actually third phase is a lot of admin and testing stuff. The first week, I think you do your final drill tests, your knowledge tests, just all that stuff, and you start buying your tickets to go home, which that's an amazing feeling because even though you're not quite done yet, it's just a sign of I'm almost there. Crucible week, that first part of the week is actually no big deal at all. You just do more admin stuff to get ready to go home. And the drill instructors really don't mess with you a lot because they don't want to risk anybody getting hurt or having anything go wrong before the Crucible. Once the Crucible starts, it is difficult. It's hard. There's really nothing you can say to make it sound easy. It's not an easy time, but there's some pretty cool stuff you do in it. It's not just this horrible, hellish experience. You get to do some cool, different drills and events. You're going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be hungry when it's over. But after a couple days, it's over, and you hike out to the place where they're going to do your Eagle Globe and Anchor ceremony, where they give you the speech about how you're finally a Marine and you're part of the Brotherhood, and you're going to cry during it. If you get to that point, I know a lot of people said, oh, I'll never cry during that. Basically, everyone cries like a baby. Part of it is you're so happy you're done with boot camp for the most part, and then the other part is you're just proud that you've done something that not everybody can say they can accomplish. After that, you just finish some more administration stuff. You do all your paperwork to get ready to go home and transfer into combat training afterwards. The second to last day is family day. You spend part of the day taking your family around the recruit depot and showing them everything, and you eat a lot of junk food that the drill instructors tell you should not eat, and then you get really sick because you ate all the junk food they told you not to eat since you hadn't eaten junk food in months. Graduation day, in my mind, was terrible and I hated it. I was just tired and ready to go home, and you have to stand there for hours and stand in formation, but it's for your family and it makes them feel awesome and like they're really proud of you, and it's just a cool event for your family. And after it's over, you get to go home for, I believe it's 10 days before you go into combat training. And I'll try to make a video about the combat training later on. hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and follow my channel because you'll get more videos like this. I'll answer more questions. I'll talk about basically everything I've done in the Marine Corps, and I'll answer questions people ask. And I'm going to be testing out survival stuff in the future too, so stay tuned for that.